Renting is essentially a service. You make a monthly payment to live in somebody else's rental property. You have the right of possession so long as you make those monthly payments, and if you don't, then the service ends and you're out. There are 3 ways of finding rentals. Number 1, you can go online yourself, look up properties that fit your specifications. Number 2, you could get a paid service to do this for you. Or number 3, you could hire a realtor to do this for you for free because they get paid by landlords to find tenants for their properties. You just need to find a realtor that deals with rentals. Once you found the rental you are looking for, you'll have to sign a contract for the service of living there, which is known as a lease. The duration of a lease is usually a year, but you could do a month-to-month lease if the landlord allows it. The down payment is usually the same as the first month's rent, and they're both due on or before the move-in date. You can get your down payment back or a percentage of it depending on the condition of the property when you decide to move. Now let's break down the cons of renting and then we'll do the pros. First off, the application fees. Before you get into a rental, you have to apply and qualify for it. And every place you apply to carries an application fee that can vary from $0 to $50 or even more. And those application fees can really add up depending on how many places you apply for. So make sure you find the rental you really want and ask questions. Ask questions on the qualification factors and make sure you meet those qualifications before you even apply. Number 2 is landlords. You may get lucky and get a good landlord that's cool and easygoing, but as you may have experienced, and a lot of us have, sometimes you get an overbearing landlord that's over restrictive, complete. Anyways, that could be too much. Number 3 is rent increases. Before you renew your lease, you might get a notice stating that you will now be paying more a month for the same property. Now, some places have rent control where the landlord can raise the rent drastically, but a rent increase is still a rent increase and nobody likes paying more. Number 4 is being stuck in a lease. When you sign a lease, you're signing a legally binding contract. So that means you have to abide by all the terms in that contract. So if you sign a year lease, you'll have to live there for a year. Now, if you want to move out early before the lease ends, you may have 2 options. If the landlord allows it, you could do what's known as a sublease. This is where you get somebody else to take over the duration of your lease. You get to move out early, they get to move in, and they make the monthly payments for the duration of the lease. But make sure you get somebody responsible because let's just say whoever moves in decides to trash the place, well then you're still liable for the damages they caused. The other option is you could break the lease and move out early, but you'll be forfeiting your deposit. Some landlords even ask you to pay 2 months rent to cover the unexpected vacancy loss. Number 5 is you're throwing your money away renting. Now I'm sure you heard this before. Why throw your money away renting when you could be building equity by buying? In the long run, yes, owning property can be more beneficial than renting. In a lot of cases, the owner of the property you're paying rent to every month most likely bought the property by putting 20% down and then took out a loan for the rest. Your monthly payments are now paying off his loan, aka the mortgage, plus he gets to pocket a few $100s every month. Why build his equity when you could build your own, right? In renting, your money's not working for you other than keeping a roof over your head. But the pros to renting are, number 1 is, if you're a savvy investor, instead of paying that big upfront money of buying a home, you can rent and use what would have been that upfront money and invest it into something more lucrative. Something that yields a higher return other than homeownership's projected appreciation and principal paid on equity. So if you're going to rent, make sure you invest your money into something you're proficiently skilled at, maybe stocks, a business, a side hustle, a legal side hustle. If you have the capital to do both investments and real estate ownership, do both for a diversified investment portfolio. Or invest in your education. Education on how to invest better than real estate ownership. Number 2 is the low cost to obtain. Unlike buying where you have that big upfront payment, renting is relatively cheap. Application fee, first month's rent, and down payment is all you need to get into your rental. Number 3 is time. The time it takes to find and rent a property can be a fast process, as opposed to buying that can be a drawn out process sometimes. Number 4 is maintenance. You don't have to pay any of the maintenance or repairs on the property because you're the one that's renting, and the owner has to keep it in livable condition. So if there's a plumbing problem, the owner pays for it. HVAC system goes out, the owner pays for it. HVAC is an acronym for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, by the way. If anything's wrong with the dwelling, the owner is responsible for maintenance and repairs, so you don't have to come out of pocket. Number 5, you can always move. After your lease ends, you can just move to a new place without having a vested interest in the property. Other than saying goodbye to that awesome neighbor, you can just relocate and start anew. This is great if you have a job that requires you to relocate from time to time, or you have a job that you could do from home and you don't necessarily need to live in a certain location, like single military personnel, truck drivers, YouTubers, what have you. So renting can be great for some of you, and the option that best fits your lifestyle.